So, well, participants, we are discussing about the stages of development, particularly the growth and development is the specification of the unit. In the last class, we discussed about the various stages, and today we are to discuss about infancy, which is the first stage after the birth of a child. Let's start, friends. After birth, we discussed that birth is the break, and the second phase of life begins basically after birth, particularly after cutting the umbilical cord. After birth, infancy is the first stage of life. We got that there are various classifications or categorizations and views of different experts differ, particularly concerning to the categorization of various phases of life. Still, in general, as a whole, human life after birth is divided into four specific, stages, where the number one is the infancy, second one is the childhood, third one is the adolescence, and fourth one is the adulthood. Still, from purely or absolutely psychological standpoint, there are variations or differences concerning to the concept of or the views of various stages of growth and development of human life. Anyway, infancy, whenever we are to discuss after birth, infancy is the first stage of life. Friends, infancy begins after birth and continues till the 5 years of growth and development. Means from 0 to 5-6 years of growth and development, this is the stage of infancy, which is very much important in the process of growth and development of a human child. And infancy, when you are to define, you are to say that infancy begins after the birth of a child, particularly just after cutting the umbilical cord, and it continues up till 5-6 years of age, particularly of growth and development. Some psychologists have divided infancy into two parts. This is very important. There are some psychologists who are of the opinion that infancy can be divided into two parts. Number one, early infancy is the first stage and the later infancy is the second stage. Means this way we find two sub stages of the first stage, that is infancy, and the first one is early infancy and second one is later infancy. If it is asked to write in the examination how infancy is divided or how many parts are there, as per the viewpoints of the psychologist of infancy, then you are to write as two parts. One is early infancy and second one is later infancy. Let us see the next. From the moment of birth till 2 years of life, it is the first phase of infancy, which is called as early infancy. So very easily, whenever we are to define early infancy, we are to say that from the very moment of birth, because you know so much well that infancy is such a stage which starts just after the birth of a child and it continues, up to 5 years of growth and development. And early infancy, begins at the moment of birth and it continues, till 2 years of growth and development. And this is the first, part of infancy. And second part is from 2 years of age to 5 years is the second phase, which is called as later infancy. So friends, to define early infancy and later infancy, you have got the information here. From the very moment of birth till 2 years, it is early infancy, and from 2 years to the age of 5 years, it is later infancy. Let us see the next. The first phase, that is early infancy, has special significance from the point of view of growth and development of the child. During this phase, the child learns to adjust to the totally new environment after coming out from the mother's abdomen. See, in the first stage, the child naturally learns to adjust with this situation, and this phase of life is very important for the life of the child, because you see, once we try to understand this phase, we will see so many mysteries, so many specifications, and so many specialities in the process of growth and development of the of the personality of child. Let us see the second. You see, infancy generally covers two phases of life. This is very important. That is the prenatal and postnatal growth and development. Means from the growth and development, if we are to consider the significance of infancy, then we basically find that infancy has been categorized, you see, by making two phases: prenatal phase of life and postnatal phase of life, where we see different differences in growth and development. Prenatal phase covers the growth and development during the stage of fetus. This is very important. What is prenatal stage? Prenatal phase covers the growth and development during the stage of fetus. And fetus is the stage of full growth inside the mother's abdomen. Means when the child is inside the mother's abdomen, fetus is the stage of full growth, means before birth. And this phase of life has special importance after the birth of a child, and that's why when considered the significance of the stage of infancy from the standpoint of growth and development, we basically find two stages or phases. One is prenatal and another is postnatal. And prenatal phase, you see, is that phase which is basically explained from the standpoint of medical science, and this stage basically covers the growth and development during the stage of fetus, and fetus is the final stage or the total growth stage or mature stage inside the mother's abdomen when the child is there before birth. Let us see the next one. Generally speaking, this way, the child remains 9 months and 10 days inside the mother's abdomen. This is the general view of people, that 9 months and 10 days the child remains inside the mother's abdomen during pregnancy. That is 9 months and 10 days. This is general assertion, or this is generally explained viewpoints. But here in this point, psychologists differ in their opinions. They are of the opinion or of the view that as an average, the child remains inside the mother's abdomen continuously for 266 days. This is the time period, though basically from common sense or from basic viewpoints, the people say that a child basically remains inside the mother's abdomen continuously for 9 months and 10 days, but psychologists are of the opinion that as an average, this child remains inside the mother's abdomen continuously for 266 days, and all these days do have special importance or significance which are being observed after the birth of the child. And some have again explained this time limit as 270 days. So friends, if it is asked to write in the examination, this is common sense view, general view, and this is scientific psychological view. The child remains continuously for 266 days, and some psychologists are of the opinion that the child before birth remains inside the mother's abdomen as an average for 270 days. Let us see the next one. The second phase, that is, we have discussed about prenatal stage, means the fetus stage, means the final stage when the child remains inside the mother's abdomen, and this is postnatal phase of development. It begins after the moment of birth. Prenatal stage, during the stage of matured pregnancy, in the final stage before birth, and postnatal phase is, you see, after the birth of a child, just after cutting the umbilical cord. The postnatal phase is again subdivided into three spatial stages. This is very important, friends. This stage has again subdivisions, three subdivisions. If it is asked to write what are the subdivisions of postnatal stage, then you are to say as, this is partonate, neonate, and infant. Partonate means where, in which stage the child is being departed. There is partition from mother's body. This is partonate, neonate, and infant. The postnatal stage is again subdivided. Partonate, what it is the stage from birth till the cutting of the umbilical cord. Means just after birth, you see, up till the moment of cutting the umbilical cord, with the help of which the child remains connected with the mother, this is partonate stage. The child is with the umbilical cord is to be cut, and the child is to be separated from the mother, and then this is real stage of birth. Let us see the next one. This is a very short period, as because after birth the child is separated quickly by cutting the umbilical cord, you see, by following the medical exercises. Next one is neonatal stage, is the second stage, which covers the time period from birth till 14 days. This is neonatal stage. How many days? From the moment of birth till 14 days of growth and development. That is 2 weeks of growth and development. That is neonatal stage. Let us see the next one. During this stage, the child immediately learns to manifest physical responses, jerking of, you see, various limbs of the body, or reactions which are called reflex actions. This is very important. Reflex actions means within 2 weeks, within 14 days, just after the moment of birth, this child begins to expose or begins to, you see, show physical responses or reactions, which is basically defined or known as reflex actions of the child. The third phase, that is the phase of infant, continues to the first 2 years of life. During this phase, various physical and mental development can be noticed. So this way, the subcategories of various phases have been explained. You see, this is very much important to you, because without understanding or without knowing in details about the specifications of various stages of life, we never can develop proper concept or scientific concept concerning to the process of growth and development of human child. So friends, we have discussed about infancy here so much well, and you have got some subcategories which are very much important for your examination. And in the coming class, we are to discuss about the spatial characteristics of this stage, that is infancy, which begins just after the birth of a child and continues up till 5 years of growth and development, where from growth and development standpoint we see some specific phases, or others from other point of view where we do see some subcategories or some sub classifications about which we have discussed so much well. Thank you so much. All the contents are so much important for your examination. Whatever it may be your stage or level, these are very much important for TET also, for your degree course also, for postgraduate course also. So from higher secondary level till PG and interview level, you are to know everything else so much well. Thank you so much for today.